Hello world. So today I wanted to do something new and interesting. It is pretty much a project I wanted to work on for a while, and it's this podcast. So this first episode I'd like to introduce you to is something that is personal to me because as an artist, I walk through life at a very unique point of view. I don't have a 9 to 5. I don't follow these strict limitations. I live in nature in a world of creativity, tapping into this world of the unseen, of potential itself, where you see these ideas, the concepts to bring forth inspiration and design and everything else that comes along the way to birth something into the world that has never existed before, and in a way that only you as an artist, your unique individual being, can express. Now, there are many artists in the world, whether they're in their own unique ways, a painter, a sculptor, or even the likes of designing houses, or being able to see how a room can come together with a proper color theory, or anything along the lines of creating the idea of something that has once existed nowhere, yet was introduced into the waking world, that we take part in every day. And it is something that is not commonly spoken about, but it needs to be more introduced into the world, and I hope to have a part in that by having an episode dedicated to the such. And today's episode's title is The Artist Path, and I'd like to dive deep into what it means to be a creator being, and all the journeys that come with. Now today I have with you pretty much my partner in crime, Tory Lee. Many of you may know her from her creative outlet, Tourian Spirit, where she creates these amazing earth crafts that are inspired by nature. She uses nature we find on our journeys. For those who don't know, we live together, we're a couple. We pretty much have come together and have this very deep soul connection. And we both walk this path of an artist. And when we are going through this natural cycle of being in nature and being inspired by nature and exploring this inspiration to create something that is meaningful to us, we get really clear on what it's like to be a unique individual in the world. And I'd like to bring her on now and have her share a little bit what it's like for her as an artist, and then we'll dive right into the topic. So here we are.
Hello everyone, I'm Tory Lee. I'm also an artist, like Eric has said. So right now I've been really interested in making like weavings and dream catchers and combining them together and calling them dream weavers. Been really exploring the different techniques of macrame, being able to create something that is like true to you and what you want to put out in the world and like means something to you. That's like what art means to me, and to be able to do that and like share that with the world, that means I'm being successful, because I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, like going to a 9 to 5 job. That would be so like a waste of my time. Yeah, it's money and it's like a paycheck at the end of the week, but did I really earn it, or did I just like sit and be a zombie for 8 hours? It just doesn't make sense. And I believe everyone is an artist, and everyone's born an artist, and just how you express that into the world and choose to create is your own artist path.
Yes, I think that we're all creator beings in one way or another. And a lot of us always like to think that I'm not an artist or that I cannot express myself creatively. But we can do that in so many different ways. The way we make food, the way we arrange the house, the way that we decide to work on a project or make something new that has never existed. It's that idea that you can apply yourself and bring about this potential out into the world to create something. And it is always a beautiful thing, because when tapping into creativity, we got to discuss the idea of how there's these feminine and masculine divine archetypes that everybody has, regardless whether you're male or female. And tapping into that feminine, that, let's say, divine feminine, you're getting this Venus-like creative tap into beauty, the expression of nature, the idea of a flower blooming. It's the magic that drives any artist to create something that is awestruck to anyone who lays an eye on what they bring to the world. And there's a part to that, because it takes both, not just the divine feminine, but the divine masculine to take that action, to drive that passion, and to step up and say you will follow through, to take this idea you've now conceived and to have it step by step make itself form into the world we live in. And many arts out there, be it sculptural, be it painterly, or any of the likes of even design, many products out there are once thought of at one point in time by an individual no differently than you nor I. We are able to tap into this potential, and I think that is very important for a lot of people out there to just recognize, to know, to accept. It is a part of the nature. We all are an artist at some level, at some way of creativity. I believe that even the way we express ourselves or the way that we explore certain avenues in the expertise that we end up pursuing, this all has a level of applying creative ideas, concepts, inspiration to allow us to grow and discover the potential of the unknown. And it takes an act of faith to dive into such creative pursuits, because it's not always guaranteed to show an outcome, nor is the path laid in stone. It is something that, yes, we can have this idea. How we evolve it into reality is always going to be unique, because the technique we utilize or the medium we apply as an artist, as well as the pace we go into, or how we even bring the expertise and experience into that piece of work at that moment in time along our path. It is all such this synchronized, unique experience in which it is shaped based off of your individual and the individual's passion and the passion of being able to set yourself with this ability to discover an idea and to birth something, be a creator of not only an act of creation, but to form yourself and the deeds you do to align with such creation, that you yourself create something that is amazing, never been seen before, you share it. That is important to pursue in this world. And as more people are finding the idea of saturation in any line of work, becoming too hesitant to explore, it is the idea that any step is going to take you there. The idea of attraction, how we are attracted to certain elements, artists, art in general. These things bring us and guide us to say we enjoy this work. We would not mind to see more of it. In which case, these are unspoken words to guide you as an artist to explore such topics that you yourself can take the steps to find yourself exploring any topic you want. And in this day and age, being able to find something on Pinterest or looking up a how-to on YouTube provides anyone the ability to be an artist in their own way, to build upon what has come before them. Now, I believe each of us as an artist can speak on what it's like to be creative and the meaning of all that and how we tap into this idea of potential. Would you like to share a little bit on that?
Yeah, beautifully said. To touch back on like the feminine and the masculine, and how like to be a creator you like really tune into that divine feminine, you know what I mean? And so for me as an artist, I really can like relate to that, because I feel like me tapping into the Mother Earth and using natural materials is that's me tapping really deep into the divine feminine, and I'm really drawn to like using these already beautiful objects in nature, you know what I mean, like the sticks and the moss and the crystals and all these natural elements I do, and the feathers, like all the stuff I put into my art. Like it's already like an art object for me. It's already an art object in nature, and I'm like enhancing it with my art and forming an extension of self-expression, and having that like that masculine energy is the action, help you like really push yourself and do that in the world. So you need both feminine and masculine to like really, so the union of the divine feminine and the divine masculine is a principle that any creator being and creative person.
And that's something I also is aware of that is connected to the spiritual principle of getting these two aspects of self and merging them together sinks forth the idea of the hangman, in which we see this new enlightened point of view that gives us a path to walk that has never existed before. And that merging, that bringing together of the feminine and masculine are elements that I believe any individual applying those principles would instantly take their ability and allow it to grow at a layer that is very in tune to the waking reality we partake in and the natural balance of all in which we explore through. Mm-hmm. The idea that we tap into this realm, which is not existing yet, it is where we place these ideas. We have this collective connection, which I believe has this 100 monkey effect. So the idea itself, as an artist, if you were to pursue it in the world, there is times where if it has not come to light, that idea may soar itself into another individual who can connect the dots and pick up on that. That idea of crystals themselves can emit ideas, and how dots themselves are these waves. So if we can emit these waves on a collective scale, we are connected. It's the idea of inspiration. We build off of the ideas that come before us. No differently, we do this on a very subtle and subconscious level as well. As we tap into those types of forces, there might be an individual who might be so keen to see this vision illustratively, and they never pursued it. But one day, months down the road, an artist somewhere across the world may think of an idea with this same concept and bring it to light uniquely. And these two synchronistic moments are completely coincidental in terms of two different artists bringing about an idea. One conceives the idea, or at least tunes into it, while the other brings it about into the waking reality. So at one level, the thought of it is an important factor, but it really is the artist's touch, their way they weave through each creation they bring into the world, that leaves the mark and sets a wave upon what they share with others. And that in itself becomes a form of inspiration for many others. No differently than the idea of thought, the concept of consciousness, and anything else thought about in which one self has discovered that they may never unlearn, because that idea speaks a truth. It speaks to the natural world, and those who tap into and align with that cycle which the natural provides us is going to experience that firsthand. And that is important because most artists in the world get that opportunity. They're not restricted by limitations. Most of them explore this freelance idea to live as you go, to do your craft and to refine it and perfect it over time, to discover new ways of learning, new ways of creating, new ways of exploring a medium and taking it to levels that each time will provide a doorway of opportunity to challenge you as an artist, so that once you complete it, it is a journey without just an income, but a journey, a part of this whole bigger picture in which each piece allows you to grow into the being you're meant to be. In its own right, the path of an artist inherently provides spiritual journey for those who tap into it. And this is very interesting because we can explore this level even further. As with any artist who taps into their zone, when they are working on art themselves, they quiet the mind, they quiet the self, they bring this focus on the art they create. And when they are in that zone, they can witness themselves creating and acting in part as it comes together. It is a flow. You are in your zone like driving. It is on autopilot, which you become. And that level of consciousness is just auto weaving. It's auto drawing. It's auto creating the idea in an abstract way while also seeing the bigger picture. It's that goal in which we tap into, that we can act as an instrument to express a certain way, an idea, a concept, and allow the body to dance it through us, whether it's sculptural, through pottery, or through a pencil, pen work, or other likes of design, ideas, conceptual, interior design, architecture. All of these avenues give these opportunities to not just be works of art, but experiences for the human soul to grow upon the world. Now, each of these topics are so briefly touched upon, yet can go deeper, all on their own right, be it from the masculine and the feminine nature of the reality or ourselves, as well as the path of the artist, the meditation it takes to be an artist, in which we tap into. And I'd like to explore that more, but first I'd like to discuss about how we ourselves are able to manifest something, and the importance of why we are best to tune ourselves to the natural world and how that can inspire us. And I think the perfect way to express this is with you. So,
Yeah.
Tori, I'd like you to explore as you do these very nature-inspired works of art. And I think that's a great example of how one can tap into just being in nature and allow it to bring this growth to our individual beings.
Well, it's like
uniquely.
it's like you said, when you're like in your flow or in the zone, and you're like just able to witness yourself being able to create and be in the moment of creation itself. It's like that when you go into nature, like you're able to just quiet your mind. It's already meditative. It's just like a place of peace and tranquility. So bringing that into like your art, and like finding things along your journey, like your walk in nature or anything, like being able to utilize that, and because it touched your soul and knowing that it's going to touch someone else's soul, that is for me the importance of making art. And I think this could be a whole new topic, but I think like being able to elevate consciousness in itself and having the path of an artist and everyone walking the path of an artist, that is like how we can do that clearly, obviously, you know what I mean? Like that's how we elevate our consciousness, and that's how you can become like the best version of yourself, is tapping into that artist inside you and walking the path of an artist and being able to create, whether it's whatever you're creating, being able to touch someone's soul and bring that new perspective is what growth is all about. And being able to grow with others as an artist in a creative environment, and that's like a blessing.
I couldn't agree more. I think that meditative state in which we tap into really connects us to receive a lot of the ideas and inspiration in which we pursue as an artist. And the idea of actually working with nature, you tap into this meditative state.
So the energy that you bring into your art or whatever you're creating, whether you're illustrating nature even, like you're bringing that energy of nature itself into your work, and having that presence there is important. It has a significance to the human psyche when you're like witnessing it and visually expanding your mind, you know what I mean?
And I think that's actually like a great topic you just brought up there. It's the idea that art itself is a transmutation of a lot of the emotions we process and a lot of the ways we feel. So it is a state of mind that drives many different artists to express themselves in a lot of different ways. It's like a visual storytelling element of self-discovery, as any artist, I believe, is always finding who they are as an individual, as we are at one spiritual level or another, and to express that as we discover it is leaving these little marks in the world as we grow. Is saying we've grown up to this height, we've made this art, we've shared this idea. And as we grow, that shows where we've come from, but it also contributes to many other artists out there who receive this inspiration, who discover what other people are capable of, and seeing that this potential exists among the human society. The idea that we ourselves, waking individuals, can walk a life, a path that creates something out of nothing. Any idea that exists before you at one point or a time had to have been conceived, had to have been constructed and action taken place for it to exist before you.
It's because we're all connected.
And exactly, we have this astrological view in which we can see how things have this bigger picture falling into place. Yes, many of us generationally have a part to play on society of what we contribute, and one way or another, if the idea of reincarnation can be considered, as we come in, we always have something to learn as well as contribute for those paths we walk. So
if like you don't do it, if you don't express your creativity into the world, like you said, someone else will later down the road, because all of our ideas and stuff are all connected in some way or another. No one idea didn't come before the next. Waking up and knowing like you got to express this today, like stepping up to your own life to walk the path of an artist, that is important. And you're not just healing yourself in the process, you're actually healing the world, because you're just the one and only person. Like, how can this make a difference? But you expressing that later down the road, someone else can see that or relate to it or express it in their own way, which helps everyone grow in society.
And being connected in that collective is a part to play
Yes.
too, because we are these energetic beings, and with energy, a lot of us transmit, a lot of us receive. Some can be more psychic and empathic than others, and that level of being is something that has never truly been explored at a mainstream level, or at least it's starting to make itself more known. And in which case, we take these concepts and ideas of consciousness, spirituality, of understanding how the universe works. This is pretty much a study of nature of the natural world, the way things work on a very, I have no other word, natural way. And the idea to perceive and study the cosmos can bring forth all sorts of ideas and concepts which are embedded in it. Even the idea of sacred geometry existing within not only the matter of existence, be it frequencies or cymatics, if any of one wants to explore that concept. It is these forms, these shapes, taking this very dimensional construct, and it's applying it at a level in which we are seeing it almost as code. And if this code expresses beauty, like the phi or golden ratio, then these elements are not only introduced into art, but I noticed as an artist, these elements are subconsciously showing up in the work you pursue. Many of the very organic art that exists out there, that is not like this case of very refined, most times digital, that fit this square, this artificial calculation. And then there's this organic level of art in which you are creatively pursuing it as an individual. There's imperfections. Imperfections is part of that beauty because it makes it so unique. So as we're pursuing this idea of organic art, we are able to rise in the moments of allowing ourselves on an act of creation to put on display every little weaving, every little dot, every little line that forms this bigger picture, just through the idea of following this natural world and how it all comes together bit by bit, piece by piece. And it all has its place, it all has its season. And when you notice those cycles, not only can you tap into it, but you can utilize that to allow your art to grow. Anyone setting an intention on the new moon and seeing the results come to the full moon, and then as it wanes to the next new moon, can see that this idea, this concept, can ride with us. The Farmer's Almanac applies this concept to plants, how we can grow plants the same exact way. Planting a seed, as the moon is becoming full, about 2/3 of the way, you will notice that it takes that energetic pull in which the moon goes around our planet, pulling the magnetic light of the sun to take off that inspiration, to allow that energetic fuel to provide us boost, to connect ideas that have not been connected before, to allow things to align in place, to work with the living universe, and to create something together. It is one way that, yes, we create the idea and we pursue it. But what part of us, if we're built by the things that are made around us and the things that are part of us, where does that all apply to each and every work of art we bring out into the world? Now, before I get too philosophical on this topic, I'd like to let you speak about it a little more and reflect on some of these things I brought into our podcast at this exact present moment.
So being an earthling of this world, living alongside this living world we are on, is important to like be in tune with the natural cycles, and like you were talking about setting intentions on the new moon and stuff like that. Just being like more connected to the world and the natural world, and
not like on Facebook. Nature.
Being connected with nature. Yeah, being connected with nature. That, like, for me at least, helps like propel me further on the artist path. I feel like you can wander around in the forest, but are you ever really lost?
Are you ever really lost if you ever needed to be found?
Right.
And that's the true idea of being an artist. It's that discovery of the self. When you know who you are and what you want to express, it actually gets so much easier because you're not resisting who you're meant to be. And becoming that true self is literally the refined path of an artist. It is defining who you are and getting clear with it so that you bring that out into the world. And the more that you bring that unique self out into the world, the more you offer potential, inspiration, and the concept of providing others opportunity to build upon what you have contributed is this remarkable thing that we are all connected in some way, not just on a collective consciousness, energetic level, but we are also providing each other the tools, the potential to say, this is possible. And we discover that. Even the idea of studying nature, I'd like to go back to that because a little known fact is that Leonardo da Vinci, I personally feel is one of the greatest artists I take inspiration from. His early years were spent very isolated in nature, where his artistic skill, his ability to explore and be creative was brought to him through the exploration of nature. He journaled and drew what he saw, and he studied the shapes, the natural world, the sacred geometric makeup of what makes these things so organically unique. It's not just shapes, it's a formation. Very three-dimensional, and it has a life flowing through it.
The golden ratio is everywhere in nature.
Exactly.
So it pops up randomly in your art, and that's when you know, like, you're doing the right thing. You created, like, the best that you could create in that moment. If it's, like, especially if you accidentally just witness, like, oh, this is, the golden ratio. It's perfect dimensions and everything, like...
And give yourself, like, a high five for pulling it off, and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And that synchronistic moment... Those things are what provide artists that, like,
the art
autopilot
through you perfectly.
You essentially become a vehicle for spirit. That this idea itself is a life of its own. Once you create it and release it into the world, it's not a part of you anymore. It's its own idea. People build upon it. People can see it for its own way. You've created life itself.
And that helps us get connected more. So when you show up to your own life and become, like, your own artist and walk that path of the artist... Doing that, like, is worth it.
Oh, without a doubt.
So everyone, like, expressing yourself creatively is important, and it's something, like, more people should really be aware of. Like, so I think the best way to relate that is to dancing. You just let it flow. You don't, like, linger on each step. You just let it out, and you dance. You don't, like, get stuck on each step.
And that goes very much into what I mean by... It's a leap of faith being an artist. Sometimes you never know your exact outcome. And you're an earthcraft artist, and you work with weavings, and I've seen you do your magic. And some of the stuff you create, I see it's very developmental and experimental. And I think to a degree, a lot of art out there has to be both tapping into your intuition to know where to go, as well as being very experimental and open to see where the art takes you, because a lot of art likes to speak for itself, and sometimes when you have a concept and then you bring it out, you realize something might be off, so adjustments occur, or not everything is always paved, so it's a discovery to see where that piece comes from. Sometimes you feel like, oh, this idea might not work out as well as something else, and happy accidents are sometimes these synchronistic saviors that come in and show us that, like, it is not these building blocks that just fall into place where they need to be. It is this anamorphic, abstract clay, and you shape it to what you want it to be. It can be shaped a dozen different ways. It can be... That vision can come to life a dozen different ways. It's not always going to be the same every single time. And going into that focus again of how art itself is yet a perfection of the self while being imperfectly unique in what we see elsewhere existing. And that is a beauty all on its own. Tapping into that Venusian archetype allows that creativity to truly shine, and that idea to express ourselves, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or a message that we try to convey through the art that speaks to us, or as the art itself being an expression of something that defines who we are. We bring that out into the world to share. It is a moment where we are vulnerable And we are expressing something so unique that it is in itself nature through the cultivation of this natural process of being an artist. And we gotta reconnect with what it's like to be an artist. Each and every one of us on our own level, the way we conceive an idea, the way we honor that. It is a leap of faith that a lot of people need to take into the world. And I think this coming year we have Jupiter in Sagittarius, its home sign, the planet that is all about leaps of faith. And when you're in Sagittarius, you're diving into the philosophies, the concepts of pursuing a higher education to explore and expand. And when we want to bring this out into the collective, we got the exact type of talks just like this that bring that out. We got the synchronistic layout of reality, bringing us where we need to be, providing us with the mediums of what we have at the time to do what we need to do. We are always given some sort of way, and we got to meet that halfway. Whether we bring ourselves to honor an idea and follow through with it, or to take something and say that, yes, this is something that is meaningful to me, and whether it might not give you that guarantee of a 9-to-5 job, it provides you a wealthier state of consciousness and a very deep connection to the natural world. Whether you want to see that spiritually is a right all on its own, but I think how we are connected to the cosmos is an important factor, whether you're an artist or not. And I think the artist itself is just the expression of how we can tap into a very unique true self. Each of us, each day, can bring a little bit more out into the world. And the way we connect to others, the way that we go about our day, all is an art. Every profession out there is an art. And when you can apply these principles that we were discussing today to any form of life, that closer you can get to the natural world, nature itself, to be in tune to it and express yourself as so, you are going to find these synchronistic moments become ever so clear to take you on the path that you yourself uniquely can bring out into the world. And that's something inspiring all on its own, that any individual can understand what it's like to be an artist. Even if you've never been to an art school, it's not just about that. It's something that we all inherently have inside of us. And when we bring that out, we allow the trust of who we are to take presence in the world, to make creation of something out of nothing, and show what it is like to make it be. To be. And as you let it be, it becomes its own thing. And that is the cycle of creation. It brings it all whole. As you yourself allow this to exist, you not only set off the fireworks for inspiration to become something of many other artists to be, but those who are down the road from now, who aren't even yet an artist or define themselves to be an artist, can one day see that, discover it, and truly not only become inspired, but see your work of art as a piece of beauty that is not only meant to be in the world, but has now contributed to who they are as an artist. It is interconnected at a level that is hard to really understand without understanding the vast cosmos and the extent in which it is able to truly all work at its own pace. And as we temporally navigate it all, I think we truly are the consciousness, the vehicle that allows it all to take place. And that seasonal, temporal connection, as we are creating art, we are in our own time zone. We can have hours go by, and none of us even know, as an artist, to see that that time has flown by because we are doing something we're loving. And as an artist, you are weaving what you love into the world. And you're supposed to be one with your art because it is essentially a part of you. You should love what you do as it is important. And sometimes the visions we take to pursue are for the greater purpose of being able to see that larger vision and how we're connected to it. I think anyone's willing to take a listen can see that within themselves, can simply take a chance in art. And it takes some time for anyone to make a living off of it. And I don't say that everyone should be an artist. I believe that everyone has a role in the world. But everyone can be an artist in their own way. And it's not always just a pursuit of career. It is itself a way of life. And whether you have a family or you do also work, we each day can still have moments of creativity, whether it's how we interact with others, how we decide to go about a certain task, how we can bring about ideas of creative problem solving to the world around us, and be constructive rather than destructive, so that ourselves are not just potential, but we're potential of positive possibilities. Now, I've been going on for a while now, so I want to give you some time here to also dive into some of the topics I've pretty much warped around the world discussion.
Yeah, you said a lot. Clap, clap. All right, beautifully said. Yeah, something I want to elaborate on is when you said something about creating and healing, and I believe that for me as an artist go hand in hand. Without creating, there isn't healing. And when I sit down and start creating a piece, it's a very healing experience for me because I'm expressing myself in a creative way, and for me that's important. Therefore, I'm healing whatever I need to be healing in that meditative state which I'm in while I'm in that quote-unquote flow or zone that I will be in when I'm creating art.
And I think that what you're saying right there is just there's one level of healing at the meditative state, but then there's another level of healing that is applying your authentic self to exist in the world. I think anytime you're able to bring that out in a very natural way, I don't want to say forcefully, any way you can bring that out and apply yourself to be constructive in the world is a very growth-oriented action, because it allows an outcome that introduces yourself to be something you were not before by going through a process that is either a challenge or a gateway that changes perceptions, or at least applies an experience to you that you yourself will carry forward with you. It is not just only a journey on the self of seeing something produced. It is not a transaction in which you yourself exchange something for another. It is your investment, like growing food, to provide yourself the seed of idea and to nurture it all the way until it becomes a fully formed work of art in which you are satisfied and brought days of both intuition, meditation, reflection all into it that you are happy to more explore. And many artists don't just work on one piece and just get done and go to the next piece. Sometimes they explore multiple pieces, and that journey for each and every one, they all come together to give us that opportunity to say that yes, this is something that you're drawn to. And in any point when you are tapping into a natural cycle, the natural world, it is not like you have to do this today and then finish it tomorrow. It is sometimes you will work on it. Next day you might get sick. The other day your friend might have to need an emergency. It is all as you go. And that flow, that tapping into your flow that happens as an artist in your work needs to be also applied on the level of how you navigate each and every waking reality that we exist a part of. Each day the sun comes up and we have this opportunity to wake and take part and offer that potential. And how we go about that is always key, because we ourselves are discovering who we are each and every day. And as we are aware of that more and more, the clarity of how we present that out into the world will become so crystal clear that it is seen, it is defined, it is understood. And that expression becomes even a dance on which you can understand what beauty is through the act of itself, not just the cultivation. This is always just one level of looking at it, and art itself is not something that is so simply defined, which in the art world you can explore so many different topics. So for it to be such a more vague concept in which we explore creativity, it is always allowing this opportunity to take place. And each of us on our unique journey can take not only that spiritual point of view and apply it there, but they themselves will grow in that manner, in a way in which no other individual will ever go through, because you, that individual, that artist, that creative soul has been able to birth something that is unique. It is not a replication. It is something that is from nothing. And that beauty, that act, it's the idea of a flower blooming, not just the flower, not just the bloom. It's the process. And being an artist, the path of an artist is well stated to be, art is never finished. It is only abandoned, in which case we are always exploring, discovering who we are and what we can be. And that's why each and every work of art in which we deliver is always going to be surpassed by what else we follow thereafter. This is just the natural presence of understanding this experience and applying it consciously, that we ourselves grow in the process to take us to who we're meant to be. And if that does not sound like a spiritual path, then in its own right, it can apply to the idea of how anything can come into the world through the act of human interaction, through the act of human participation, and the idea that we ourselves aren't just this human body, but this soul, this spirit, this consciousness that we dream every night. We explore so many worlds. We take those inspirations and we use this human concept as an opportunity for potential. For any level of creation, it is a fractal whole. And when that whole becomes continued, you watch that spark take place, like the tree who was once a seed can grow as mighty and tall as the great oak. It is a concept in which this cycle of life will exist and carry on, and you can pinpoint it at any point in history, be it from the far distant past, the far, far distant past of ancient civilizations, or even the far future, wherever that may take us. That concept of potential is something that is very defining for us humans, and anybody who's in this human experience. So I leave you with that, and that idea, that concept. May it plant a seed, and may it spread to share your truest of self with everyone and anyone who's willing to be a part of the living art in which you yourself, listening to this now, are expressing into the world through the life you live.
Being an artist and...
Do you want to reflect on what I just said in one word?
I can't top what you just said, but this...
Then just say, like, what a great show.
Yeah.
Go off that idea. It's been a wonderful hour.
Yeah.
The show has been going wonderful. And
Okay.
Really... Just say something.
The show has been going wonderful, and
say it with a little more natural authenticity. Okay.
So far, the show has been wonderful, and thank you again for having me on.
No, you didn't do it. You're like, so far, say it like...
The
say
show...
it like you mean it.
Okay, I do mean it.
Give a little wow.
Wow. Okay.
You're now responding to what I just said, so that's where it's going to be placed. So you're reacting.
Okay.
What I'm about to say.
There we go.
Wait. Yeah, you clean that blood, dog.
Wow, beautiful. Okay. Okay, ready? Wow, beautifully said. Don't think I can really top that, but I'll say my piece. Thank you for having me on today, and I appreciate being able to talk a lot about art and the creative path and path of an artist. As an artist, it's not about wealth, but as long as art will always make my soul wealthy, I'm gonna continue doing it. And that part of ourselves, that like you invest in the soul, it's the idea of good health. You invest in your health because you believe in yourself. You want yourself to see what tomorrow holds. And that's any artist's idea, to see what they will create tomorrow, I think is one of the biggest driving forces. And it's always interesting to discuss this, both as an artist, as I've experienced many of the things I've discussed, as well as seeing it out in the world and understanding the process and how others can relate to that. I think it's key to how we connect to one another as artists and how we can contribute so much in many different ways. So with this topic being so artist-oriented, I feel it's very relatable, and it's not just restricted to those artists who are out in the world creating stuff. I believe everyone is an artist, and I can't help but reiterate that more and more each day, because I see individuals who have all this potential, yet they don't know how to express it into the world. And I think when they take a chance on themselves and find the avenue that is right for them, that they feel comfortable in, that they can be themselves, I think that is going to be that healing doorway you spoke about, and how the idea of pursuing art is not just healing in ourselves, but
healing to bring about that authentic self, that truest of self, in which I feel is who we are meant to be. And that is important anywhere, for any culture, wherever you are in the world. That is principle. That is something I believe is a philosophical idea in which applying that can go and take us where we have to go. Say something.
And the journey itself is an experience on itself. And where it takes you, you'll never... It's not really about the destination. It's really about the experience along the way and how you grow as an artist and as a creator being, and you heal along the way too. And whether you step up to life and become that artist in your own life, you'll never know how truly healing it can really be.
So we invite you to take a chance on yourself and to allow the little flame in which is your artist within you, and add a little topping to that little fire, and let that passion burn, and see where it takes you. See what avenues you may explore, and what parts of your everyday life where you can bring that level of creativity through you. Now, as an astrologer, I understand that the Venusian properties can provide us the spectrum. So each of us have a unique way of being creative. So do not measure yourself by those that you see, because you yourself are a flower that will blossom to be what it's meant to be, not what it sees. And that is important for anyone to take in tonight. So I'm glad we were able to have this podcast and bring forth these messages to share with you, and to make hopefully an impactful episode that may bring about inspiration or concepts, ideas that I think that many in the artistic community can welcome more. So with that, I'd like to say thank you all for listening, and I believe that we'll have more details of upcoming shows, as this is a brand new experiment for myself. This is something that I'd like to explore more of. So expect many more episodes on the way, and that this is just a seed for what's to come and what will truly be explored in the coming years. So with that said, thank you everyone for listening and coming here.
And thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being a part of it. You pretty much are mother half, and we have this soul connection in which I believe we've honored both as artists in our lives, and I'm glad that we were able to walk this life that brought us even to this microphone right here.
Yeah, I definitely have gained a lot of inspiration, and glad that we were able to experience this together.
It's something I don't think I'd trade for the world. So with that all said, well, I think we'll wrap it up in a nice little bow, and I think we did great tonight. And if you got reflections or have anything that you'd like to share or contribute, please feel free to share in the comments, and we'll keep you updated as the shows develops. Thank you again for being on the show and being a part of it. It means a lot that you're willing to actually take part in some of the creative pursuits that I would love to create in the world, and that's meaningful to me, and I'm glad that I have someone like you who's willing to be a part of my journey and see the creativity and watch it blossom. So thank you.
I'm honored to be a part of it.
And that concludes the very first episode of the Waking Canvas podcast. I'd like to thank everyone who has taken the time to just listen and experience what I bring forth into the world, and to share some of the concepts is something I feel grateful to share and actually be able to do as a living conscious being. So with this, I'd like to introduce you to support what I like to do as a living, as I am a full-time artist. This is something that I'm doing as a passion, and for those who want to support my journey, you can head over to wakingcanvas.com, or to support the Patreon at patreon.com/wakingcanvas. You may also find bonus episodes there, as well as other content which is exclusive for many of the patrons that support the journey that I go out into the world and discover. So with all that, if you'd also like to support what we do, for myself, I recently have released 2 tarot decks, Shadowlight Tarot and Wanderlight Tarot, which I've spent the last couple of years working on, illustrating, and creating this work of art. And it's beautiful. Even the booklet that comes with it, each page, every letter is hand illustrated, because that's the type of passion I bring into the world. So if you want to welcome that along your path, that is available. I'll link it below in the shop, shop.wakingcanvas.com. And for those who want to support Tory Lee and the work that she creates, or check out some of her earth crafts and many of the work that she does, you can find that over at TauriLeeCreations.com or her new website, Taurian Spirits. And she has a wonderful update. It's probably already out by now, and I've watched it come from nothing to something, and it's beautiful. It's some of her best work yet, and I'm glad that she's able to pursue that, and I see that, and I want to welcome that more into the world. So if you want to support either her or myself, I'd love to do more of these shows. I'd love to bring more content like this out there and dive really deep into philosophy, spirituality, and many of the things around the world. So if this is something meaningful to you, subscribe, and you're welcome to sign up for the mailing list on the website, linked below as well. And if you do want to see this happen more, then really do find a way to contribute, support the art we do in the world, because it goes a long way. It allows us to eat and take the time to record this, and the hours it takes to just edit and make something possible. For all the photography work, all the stuff we do on social network, all the stuff we do as an artist, it takes a lot of work. So for doing it individually, it's just the two of us, that any support we'll receive is completely welcomed with gratitude, and we feel blessed to not only bring this to the journey, but to connect with all those individuals who not only relate to what we do, but are inspired by it. And we're going to do this regardless of that support, because we find ourselves to be authentic, and we want to honor that and share that with the world. So with that, we thank you, and to everyone who has taken the time to support us in the past, we thank you as well, because without all of you, we wouldn't have made it this far. And everything happens for a reason, and I believe life is one beautiful journey. So for you to be here in this synchronistic moment, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you to be here and to experience this, and you yourself should be blessed and count the blessings in your life, and you yourself should be grateful for contributing yourself to the world, to bring yourself out there and to take that with you. So with that today, thank you for allowing this a part of your consciousness and to experience this. And both of us, myself
and myself, Tory Lee,
are both pretty much
thank you.
Grateful to do this. So thank you again, and hope to see you on the next episode. Adios, everyone, and remember to stay true.